Hi there. This is Donna and
Hello. And I'm Teacher Liana.
yeah, we are from the Kidstarter team. We are the authors of the Kidstarter Curious Curriculum. And we would like to congratulate you for purchasing and acquiring your copy, the complete guide for learning through play for preschoolers. So, have anything to say about from launch to now, Teacher Liana?
We're so happy and we're so excited that, a lot of people have come to know about the KCC. And, this was really born out of a passion between Donna, myself, and our other two partners, Jana and Angela, for our passion for play and exploration and how we want to be able to share this with other parents, with other children, and to encourage them to do the same.
Mm-hmm. And Liana and I are a really dynamic duo in a sense because I've done homeschooling. I'm done with it from preschool to grade 6 and seeing the fruits of the kind of education that my children, had in the early years. And now Liana actually doing it on the ground, grassroots, and look at her background. That is her mini classroom.
We are in the thick of things right now.
Yes. So the merging of seeing the products and building on that type of education with the new children and with all of the things that Teacher Liana has experienced and learned from all her training in preschool education, I think we are offering one of the best ways to start your children. That's why Kidstarter. Okay, let's get down to business. This is just going to be relaxed. We just wanted you to feel comfortable and feel, that there's somebody who's hand-holding you as you pick up your copy. Okay. What are our insights? What are our insights from those who purchase it from the moment they got it?
Oh, well, I think a lot of people really enjoy the fact that there's Filipino.
Okay, that's
this
one.
is something that a lot of people struggle with, teaching their children about the language and the culture. Another thing is how it's really filled with so much colorful and playful activities that you can do with your child. So it's not just, a one-time use. It's something that you can repeat, whether they're 2, whether they're 3, 4, and even 5-year-olds. I think it's
and
that
for
flexible.
the next child as well, di ba?
You can do it with if you're doing multi-level homeschooling. That's another thing.
I think another one is that it comes with activity book that pretty much has maybe 80% of what you'll need, in terms of cutting and paper and, art materials.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people said that it's all there, you don't have to look for stuff.
A lot have also said because it's open-ended, they're open to interpreting it the way that their child likes it, So we have a game called Bingo. You'll soon see it when you open your book set. But in Bingo, in our activity book, you'll see food, but you can make it your own, personalize it the way that your child likes it. If your child likes Star Wars, you can put all of the characters of Star Wars in your, Star Wars bingo. So that's why it's so nice because it's that flexible.
Yes. And I think one of the things that we've heard in terms of the challenges is one wherein sometimes if people have fixed mindsets or they feel that you have to have a very rigid structure or that they want everything laid out. As you listen to us, in this 30-minute video, I think we will hopefully sort of like, guide you and in a way also challenge, why is it laid out this way? So let's begin, no? So we do understand or trying to understand where people are coming from, just as we understand that children are all unique, parents are also unique individuals, and they have different ways of approaching things. There are readers, there are watchers, there are those that want it all laid out, there are the ones that want more freedom. So coming from our experience is it's good to recognize where they are. It's okay to say, I really don't want to read, that it's so boring, or I'd rather watch ganyan. So let's try. We're attempting to and give us comments, and email us at learn@kidstarter.ph. But for now, we will just, it's sort of like a video manual. This is like a video manual on how to really make the most out of the Kidstarter. Okay, so Teacher Liana.
Yeah, let's
You
begin.
start. Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin with this. This is the teacher's guide, the blue book. So if you have it, and if you've already leafed through it, you'll know that the first 5 chapters are basically our foundational chapters. So let me go through it. So this is everything in part one. So part one, yeah, there, Donna has that, but let me show you what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about here. So those are the paragraphs. And the part that many people sometimes struggle to read, but the reason why it was written, and Donna will tell you a little more about it in a bit, but the reason it was written is because we really want to empower you as you engage with your child. So there's a wealth of knowledge in this, and it's also a pretty easy read, if I may say so myself. We talk about Filipino and why it's important to impart at this age, the 2 to 4 year age. We talk about the myths that some have to be busted, and we
Mm-hmm.
talk about what's developmentally appropriate. So that's the first part, and then part two is activities, and I'll get into the nitty gritty a bit later. So Donna, maybe you want to tell them a little bit about the first 5 chapters.
Okay. So, we really try to provide you an end-to-end
Mm-mm.
material, and we cannot successfully engage with our children if we do not have the foundational principles, at least,
Mm-mm.
open our minds to it. We have to
Mm-mm.
admit that many of us are not trained in early years
Mm-mm.
education, but once you take on certain skills building, character building, and even the whole academic foundation, we might not actually be equipped. And so, what I did in the first 5 chapters is really looked at research, looked at up to date, material, and made it into chunks that are easy and digestible for most parents. And
Mm-mm.
wrote it in a way that it's just like a BFF writing to you, and like having coffee. So maybe if it's a struggle, or if it's too tough, maybe you can break it down. And that's why we have the parent journal checklist, the
In the
learning
end.
journal at the end, wherein you can say, hey, maybe this week I can only tackle 3 pages. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good way of
Yeah.
beginning. Or
Mm-mm.
if you're the type that you can handle more, then you can write down topics,
Mm-hmm.
or Google, big words that you've seen in the first chapter, and maybe go for further research. So
Yeah.
the first 5 chapters are what we had deemed, based on research, based on the training of Teacher Liana, my training as a doctor, Teacher Liana as a teacher, on what are the essentials
Mm.
that you bring that in. Those are the big rocks. And
Mm-mm.
then the activities will now be founded on those principles, because you can't just dive into activities. There is a higher rate of failure, or difficulty and struggle if you
Mm-mm.
dive down into activities without that foundational principle. So
Mm-mm.
if it's a bit long, or if it feels a bit overwhelming, break it down into chunks, three
Yeah.
pages 3 pages a week, or 1 page a day, and
Mm-mm.
you'll see that you'll probably be able to finish it, and you might probably start loving the material. So
Yeah.
so
And I
that's
think the
5.
reason also that we talk about like why we really try to push reading the first 5 chapters is, if you delve straight into the activities without having read this, there are times that either you or your child will get frustrated. And you'll read this again in the first 5 chapters that if either of you are feeling this, sense of anxiety, there will be very little learning that will
Mm-hmm.
be taking
Yeah.
place, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing meaningful that happens with a parent who's frustrated, or with a child who's stressed out. Na, my mom is making me write the letter R, but I don't know how to do it,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think
Yeah.
it's really important. That's the reason behind the encouragement of the first 5 chapters.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we said here at the beginning of our verses, let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and
Mm-mm.
you will find rest for your souls. That comes from Matthew 11:29. And it if we begin from a place of a beginner's mind, and I want to
Mhm.
learn as a
Yeah.
teacher, as a parent, and I need to learn, if we are humble enough to say that I need to learn first before I take it on, then I
Mm-mm.
think that will give you the commitment to really take on the first 5 chapters. And
Yeah.
I'll just read through. It's just first is introduction and the KCC, then the foundational guidelines. We'll talk about play, read aloud, on being the first teacher, planning your day, supporting child's play, and developmental researches on children and
Mhm.
development and parenting principles. Then we
Yeah.
go on gadgets and technology. Then we have practical tips on how to use the guide. for the KCC. And of course, we have one chapter on bilingualism, and that is really important in the early years.
Mm-hmm.
Now I bring you to the activities. So
Yeah, okay. So right before the page of part 2, you're going to see a how to use this book. And we really encourage you to look through this, but I'm going to take you through an activity step by step. So I just chose something random here. This is from the first chapter 6 on literacy. So this is called the book board game. Now, if you see, every activity page is divided in a spread, such as this, and there are 3 pretty important parts: the ready, get set, and go. And the reason we made it this way is for you to know what material. So ready talks about the materials that you're going to need for the main activity. Get set really talks about the skills behind it. So why exactly did we choose a book board game? What skills will your child be learning through this activity? And then go are the specific instructions.
Mhm.
So how you're going to go about things. What are you going to color? What are you going to cut? How are you going to use the cardboard? And so on and so forth. But you might see other things in the spread, like here, this purple portion here, which the reason why we put this is because while Donna and I were preparing and writing the KCC, we were trying to get a feel of what homeschooling moms and dads struggle with.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing is saying, I don't know if my child is learning. I don't know if what I'm saying is right or wrong. So naturally, not everybody is a trained preschool teacher, and you might be saying things that are leading them in a certain direction, or might be giving away answers instead of asking them open-ended questions. So conversation starters are questions or phrases that will help you really engage your child. Help them to think more critically and to prolong the learning that you're doing as you do the activity. So this is a very rich part of
Yeah.
our KCC.
Okay.
And then alongside that is the stretchers. So over here underneath the go is usually the stretchers. So what exactly are stretchers? From the word alone, you stretch the activity. Yeah, exactly. So the main activity is kind of linked to what the stretchers are. It either builds on the same skills and additional skills. It's something very similar, and it's a variation. So it's something that your child will enjoy. So you have a main activity and you have stretchers. So stretch the activity as much as you can. So that's what a stretcher is for. Read alouds. We put here different books that Donna and I have in our library, and if you want to know more about read alouds, you can actually go to our page, our Facebook page, Kidstarter. We talk about read alouds and the different kinds of books that we have, and you also might want to collect in your own library. So read alouds are basically books that you can read beforehand or after or during an activity. You can also find these at the end of the book, so they're Kidstarter's recommended book list, and you can also find these on YouTube. If you'd like, just search them, and then you can do a read aloud with your child. Pause it every now and then if you don't want to hear the person reading it.
One tip is they can also create a small group among Kidstarter users, and then they can just have a Lala Move, 80 pesos, 90 pesos a book. They can exchange it if they're living in the same area.
That's great. Yeah. So we've gone through most of it, and the last part and another treasured portion is this. The Filipino corner. And we always talk about this. The reason why it's always on our mouth and we're always sharing about it is because it's so rich, because you get to talk to your child about culture and language in a non-invasive way, in a way that is not traditional. Maybe you'll see it in a book, like recently a favorite book of Nadia's is From Manila with Love, and we see a lot of these things there, like the lechon. You see going to churches in Intramuros. You see all of these things that are part of our culture and language that are easy for you to relate to your child because they're in bite-sized, chunks, in bite-sized chunks. So there's a wealth of knowledge in the Filipino corner, which also is linked to the activity book, and we'll show you that later.
So Liana was talking about the activity book, because for that activity that she mentioned, the board game, we have actual sturdy materials, the die, that they can make their own die, and then the actual board game,
game.
And
so you can use that, but you can also create your own. It's just that we made you a template already.
What I love about what Liana just shared in this whole it's a learn as you go, and it's a learn
Mhm.
and build, you know, as you go. In other words, the conversation starters are there, like for example, as a guide. The Filipino corner
Mhm.
is there as a guide, but
Mhm.
it's actually training you and testing you and challenging you by giving you a sort of like a framework. But at some point, you're going to create your own.
Yeah, that's
Parents are
true.
normally wired to just ask yes and no questions,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
very simple. And sometimes we're very, I would say, teacher dictated. We're very
Mhm.
controlling. But
Mhm.
the tips and tricks that teacher Liana had infused into the activities is actually moving parents to hold back
Mhm.
in this whole controlling nature and
Mhm.
this whole dictator, and just really, when conversation starters are allowed to bloom,
Mhm.
and you are actually pausing so that
Mhm.
the child may speak, the child may open up, and before you know it, it becomes natural for you, which I see is so natural in teacher Liana. It's like, whew, she just blurts out everything that makes it really more rich for the child. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that, we practice and we learn as we go along. So it's not
Mhm.
like something that you can just, after 1 week of practice or after 1 week of homeschooling, it'll come naturally. But that's why we encourage you to keep practicing it and,
Yeah.
looking at the book for your guides
So
because
let me,
it'll really be
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. So let me ask. So how is it set up? The activities are divided according
Mhm.
to disciplines. And
Yes.
so if I am someone that wants something fixed, boxed, and all lined up, why
Mhm.
is that not the way we presented it? We could start.
Okay. For a few reasons.
Mhm.
The first is because, we really in the preschool age, other than it being play based and wanting our children to enjoy the activities, we also want to give them that flexibility to choose, have a choice, have a say in what they're going to be doing for the day and in things that they will enjoy. So we divided it into different disciplines, and maybe for one day you might choose art, you might choose science, you might choose numeracy, and it will allow you to present these things to your child in a meaningful and fun way. So in a preschool setting, for example, when the child comes in and after we've had our meeting, they're given choices about where they want to work, where they want to play for the
Mhm.
day. Do you want to do blocks? Do you want to do science? Do you want to do math? And it can also be similar to what you do with the KCC. You can ask your child, today, what do you feel like doing? Do you want to do
Mhm.
art? Or you can even do it for the next day. Tomorrow, what do you feel like doing? So that you can prepare. Because some people, aren't ready to do things on the fly, like
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately. Like,
Yes.
what if they want to do shaving cream? You didn't buy shaving cream.
Yeah.
So you can plan for the next day. What do you feel like doing tomorrow? Do you want to do some sensory work, or do you
Mhm.
want to do some? You want to just read tomorrow? Like
Some
tomorrow might be a
dancing.
lazy day,
Yeah.
yeah, or some dancing.
Or take
So it's
nature
really,
walk. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a no fixed schedule because we really want to have we want to honor the child and let them have a say in it. We also want to allow you to figure out what you can do for the week
What works for
because
you?
what
Yeah.
works for you.
Yeah.
So right now in this pandemic, we are all stuck at home. We
Yeah.
don't have access to national bookstore just like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Our local groceries may have things, but they're very limited.
Yes.
So there are actually activities in the KCC that you can work with what you have at home,
Yes.
caldero,
Yes. Yes.
wooden spoon, things like
Yes.
this.
Uh-uh.
But there are others that you might have to prepare for a little bit more. So it's good that you have that flexibility.
Yeah.
And the reason why we don't have, we don't want to overwhelm parents with a day to day, you have to do this today, and then the next day you're going to do this. You might even feel bad, that
It
it's just
never
a
works,
day.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. From
exactly.
experience. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to try to veer away from that worksheet life that
Mhm.
more traditional schools gear towards,
Mhm.
because once you're done with the worksheet, that's it. Like your
Mhm.
child can finish it in 5 minutes. So what else are you going to be homeschooling for the
Yeah.
rest of the day?
Yeah.
Whereas if you give them Play-Doh,
Yeah.
wow, you can sit them down for an hour. Just
Water
give them
play. Yeah.
different provocations. So
Yeah.
provocations is a word you're going to see in the book a lot. Basically, it's a tool or tools that you use to make learning more meaningful. So if you're going to play with water, like what Donna was saying, you're going to play with water. They play with water all the time. They take a bath, diba? But what if you put a different container? If your container is a bucket, if it's a bowl, if it's a cup, what if it's a square container? Those giant liter mega boxes.
Yeah.
What kind of play is going to happen? If you add a sponge, what if you put a spoon? What if there's a straw? What if there's cotton balls? So many things can happen. So it's really in the language, and it's really what you provide them with. Like, these are invitations to play. So that's the reason. Like, we want to honor the child, we want to honor the parent, we want you to have that flexibility. We talk about plug and play in the activity book. So when we say plug and play, it basically means you choose an activity, you plug it in your lesson plan, and we'll talk about that later. And then you play. You play with your child.
And I think that's coming from like someone who was homeschooled for preschoolers, that no matter what you do, even if you really put it on Excel or you write it in colorful, your plans, it's almost always about maybe half of the time it will not work, and you have to adjust. And I love it, the fact that when research has shown that if it's a child directed and if it's a child chosen, if you build on an interest of the child, the mastery and the learning is so much more deep and long lasting. So if they're given a chance to choose the direction in which the day will evolve and emerge and celebrate it the more, so that's where we're coming from, and we're trying to really build or sort of challenge the walls of fixed mindset. Parent teachers that feel that it has to be my control, my schedule, my plan, because this is what I believe. It has to be a partnership. And we listen to the child. And I love this Kidstarter Curious Curriculum, and that really boils down to providing all the tools that will allow the curiosity and creativity to flow. And that's part of letting them choose and listening to them. Okay, so let's go to the meat.
Okay. Do it. All right, here we go. And this is the activity book. Okay, so in the beginning of the activity book, you will see, and here is our sample lesson plan. But this is already for somebody who's going to be homeschooling 5 days a week. So please don't be intimidated by it. It's just a sample. You do not need to, do not expect that on your first or second week, or even on your third or fourth week, you're already making lesson plans like this. It's just a guide for you to see, what a week would look like. And then if you look in the succeeding pages, you're going to see all the wealth of. We included the Filipino corner also here. So for example, I like this one. This illustrates the different kinds of dances, Filipino folk dances, that you can either watch on YouTube, you can try out with your child, find the music that you can play, and then also experiment with the movements that you can do. So that's what you can find in the activity book. And the first few pages, actually, here we talk about the things that you can insert in your day to fill in your mornings or even your afternoons. And I guess one of the things that we always talk about when it comes to lesson planning. So this is the big part that a lot of parents have feel a little intimidated by. A big part of it is really being able to figure out what part of your day do you want the lesson plan, or do you want to execute your lesson plans. Is it first thing in the morning, maybe after your child has breakfast? Is it in the afternoon, maybe after nap, when they've had their merienda? Or are you working the whole day? With this work from home setup, we understand you, we hear you, moms and dads. Maybe all the time you have is really that 20-minute window before they go to sleep. So, a good book, a good read aloud, a nice finger play to, settle them down. Nothing too exciting. So when you can think about your day, that's how it makes lesson planning much, much easier. And during our anniversary, so we had a big webinar to welcome all the KCC users that were available that day. And I talked a little bit about mnemonics and how to make your lesson planning much easier for the week. And so we made it fun and easy so that we could insert all 6 disciplines. So let's go through it one by one. Okay, so M is for Messy Monday. So that can be anything science related, anything art related. So just get your hands, your bodies, your feet messy.
Mhm.
So the messy Monday can be science and art. And then there's T for tactile Tuesday. So tactile meaning, you're working with your hands, manipulatives. These are math. So anything numeracy related, that's what you can put on Tuesdays. W is wiggle Wednesdays. So wiggle meaning you're gonna move your bodies. This is music and movement, and this is outdoor time. And then TH is thoughtful Thursdays. So thoughtful because you're thinking about, social studies and literacy. You're thinking about yourself in relation to the world. You're thinking about, literacy can really make you either grounded or free you in different ways. So thinking about this, what is the purpose of writing, of reading, and last but not the least is F. So Filipino Friday. So anything Filipino related you can do on Friday. You can, for one meal, you can just talk straight, in Filipino to your child, or you can read a Filipino book, sing a Filipino and you're not limited to this. So when Donna and I did a class together, she talked about Wellness Wednesdays, right? So it can be anything that you like, anything under the sun. Right?
Or you can start on a Tuesday and end on a Saturday if that works for you.
Yeah,
you can have
also
something like what you can just think of something for S, And why would this be, as a educator, Teacher Liana, of this age group? And why would that kind of lesson planning work? It has no, competencies. It has no list of, skills building, nothing. Why can we trust this kind of lesson planning?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I think it's the organization. When parents think, okay, I need to lesson plan, how do I do it? Where do I start? What discipline or what subject matter am I teaching? First of all, this mnemonic, the one that I had just shared, covers everything. So everything that you see in the KCC, parang your bases are covered. So if you put one per week, then you're good. For example, in 1 week you want to do MWF, then you have, at least you've done your art, science, music
Filipino.
and movement, and Filipino. Then the next week, flip it. You do TTH. So you're going to do your numeracy, and so that's math, or you can do literacy and social studies. So it's all encompassing. Now, when you think about a day in your child's preschool, so for those of you who've put children in preschools, you know that they don't always do the same subject every day. It's really up to them. They have this autonomy in the classroom. They get to choose what they want. And a day in a preschool is also about transitions. What can I do? So from the time they come in, you transition to meeting, you transition to work time, you transition to snack. So it's kind of like what you do at home. What's your transition? You can sing songs, you can read a book, all of these things. And so the reason why that works, your mnemonics works, is because it really mimics what your child is doing in a preschool. Yeah, so it's all encompassing.
And I think the fact that when we designed the curriculum, we really went for meaning, context, and developmentally appropriate, which is everything that is needed in this age group. They're not learning only in the 30 minutes that you're with them. They're learning throughout the day. And so when you feel like, hey, that doesn't seem like a preschool, that takes 3 hours, but you forget that maybe an hour and a half is just preparing and going to the preschool, and all of that. So, and when you do PTCs, when you have these assessments, they never give you a grade. It's all just emerging skills or mastery.
Consistent, mastered,
So it's really not like something to tick and something that's like scored in letters or numbers. It's just really saying that they're developing as they would, if given these milestones. And that's why we have that. If you are in the kind of like you want to know, the milestones, then you can go further. You can research on cognitive, physical milestones, communication milestones, all the milestones of the age group that you're dealing with. If you just have this feeling that, are we covering it? Right?
I mean, I think a big thing that we've heard from KCC parents is, should my child be reading? Should my child be writing? And this is a milestone that you don't really expect at this age. At the 2 to 4, they're really discovering their fine motor skills. And doesn't necessarily have to come in the form of writing. It
Yes.
can be, through Play-Doh, through blocks, through constructions, through whatever manipulative toys you have at home, Legos, all of these things. These are what develop your child's, hand muscles, fine motor skills.
So I think,
So,
yeah. So from what we've shown you as we wrap up, we're just really including you in the picture, wherein you also have to know where you are coming from. If you are the type that you need a slow, break in, then take it slow. You don't have to rush. Get to know yourself as a parent and as a teacher, and as against all the principles we've shared, what resonates with you, what you need. So make it your journey as well. It's not like I'm the teacher, you're the student, let's get on with it. You're both evolving, and that's probably why we feel that this is a material so beautiful that listens to both the parent and the teacher and allows them to celebrate. So this is like a BFF call, diba? To someone who just purchased, because some will let it sit in their night table for maybe 2 months because they're so scared of opening it. You don't need to do that. We already gave you like a hey, you can do this, and cheering you on as you begin.
Your Rara.
And we have Kidstarter Facebook, Kidstarter IG, and the newsletter of Kidstarter, which you can get on kidstarter.ph. And the email is out there, learn at Kidstarter, learn at kidstarter.ph, where you can throw off if you're stumped, if you're really, drowning and, you don't know what to do, you can always email us, right?
Yeah.
And so this one is available at kidstarter.ph.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's our first baby, but we have a second baby.
Yes, we have a baby.
This is our second baby.
Teacher Lana, go. Shoot.
Okay, so this is the Kidstarter Everyday Journal, which, your child can personalize. My daughter has already taken over this journal. And then if you look in the back, there's a writing guide. And if you look inside, we actually have a lot of helpful tips and prompts for parents who, are interested in using this as a tool at home. So my daughter has already taken over the first 3 pages, but I'll just show you a sample of, what we did. I asked her the question the other day, who's your favorite playmate? And she said it's Ate Danica. So I sounded out the letters for her. She wrote it down, and then I annotate. So annotate is when you write down what they say. Then I asked, what do you like to play with Ate Danica? So she said, sleepy time with Ate Danica's bunnies. Yeah. Yes, annotating. Then, of course, don't forget to always put the date so that you can always look back at it and see, this is what my child was writing like in November of 2020.
So Nadi is all okay that you're writing on her page. That's okay.
Of course. Yeah, she's okay with it. She's seen me model it before. So she understands why I write, so that I tell her so that mommy can remember what you wrote down that day. Yeah. But why was this baby born? Teacher Donna, Dr. Donna, why did we make this?
Because you know what? As I homeschooled through the years, I pretty much used every thing to encourage writing. From the usual, pick your own, a drawing book with a cutout page from a pad paper that I just bought, because I wanted the font to be 1 inch, because the kids' hands are not really ready and chubby, and they're, they need more space. So from there, and then eventually using it for a more structured way with more drawings. And I saw that they really needed more space for drawings. And then when I purchased something from Handwriting Without Tears, they also had that. And, I had to shift the orientation because my kids wanted to draw that way and this way. And then eventually got this, and I had to order them all online or make my own. So I realized it's time for us to make one here locally. And that's why the Kidstarter Everyday Journal. We didn't want to call it notebook also, because we wanted it really something that chronicles their journey.
Yes.
Those doodles and scribbles, not a notebook where you take notes. It's really a journal for the journey of the child. So that's available in kidstarter.ph also. And we have options for giving it as a gift. Or, that we're drumming up the excitement to this journal. So because Christmas is coming. So any last words? Now you have a Kidstarter preschool curriculum, and then you even have your journals. So you're all set to homeschool, to supplement, or even for preschool. You know, if you need material that you don't want to have to think too much for the next school year, you can also purchase this.
Yeah.
Any last words?
I guess it's just really enjoy your play journey. You know, it's a learning process. You know, even if I'm a teacher, I've been a teacher for over 10 years already, and even I have to learn and catch myself as I'm, homeschooling Nadia.
Imagine
So
that.
yeah. So, be patient. Be patient with yourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. If Teacher Liana is already saying that, then that's a big encouragement to us that, that we've given you the tools, we're offering you our support, and so be patient with yourself. That's and enjoy the journey. Definitely.
Yeah.
The preschool years are my favorite years.
They're the best.
Schooling. Sorry, but that's hats down to that era of my life, and that's why we wanted to make you succeed with all of these tools. So again, happy homeschooling, and enjoy your kids start, the way you're going to start with your children.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.